All right, everyone, it's time for a heartwarming tale. So yonder gather around as I tell you how I got expelled from the 5th grade. I thought this is like street cred story for me because I'm very proud of myself that I was expelled from this school because of the reasons behind why I was expelled and sort of first you got to go back to just younger me. And I'm still kind of like this, so don't get the fucking wrong idea. I can still troll your ass. But when I was a little kid, there were two problems that I had in school. I was always really good at the coursework, like I got straight A's most of the time. There were two problems. Number one, I was very bored, and number two, I've always been rankled by the idea of not captivity like being in a school or something. That's different. Although it's a little bit troublesome when you're that young. You just want to be outside running around. Not that, but just the idea of being like intellectually constrained and stuff. Like, and so I felt it was beneath me at times because, I'm reading the Berenstain Bears or something in school. When I go home, I'm reading like, fucking novels that are written for adults. I was extremely advanced in reading at the time. And so anything that had to do with English was worse. It's like I've already learned these words. Fucking, I already know how to write. What are you doing, dude? I wish that they had allowed me to jump a grade or two. I actually wanted to do that, and I asked the school, had my parents asking them too. I wasn't able to do so. In fact, they ended up holding me back a grade specifically because of this event. But anyway, what happened was in 5th grade, it was like peak oppositional defiant, which I actually was diagnosed with at one time. They dropped that and just said I was an ADHD kid. Basically, they just pumped me full of Ritalin and then called it a day. That didn't really help either, though. That just made it harder for me to sleep, and then I had to take sedatives and weird shit. So I was doped up like a fucking Vietnam soldier when I was like 9 or 10 years old. They had me on all sorts of bullshit, which I don't have to take now because it's like ADHD is usually misdiagnosed. In all honesty, yeah, it's way blown out of proportion. Most of the people you call ADHD kids were just wild child kids that wanted to be, fucking regular children. But anyway, the problem was this. At Dolphin specifically, the school that I was at in Hartford at the time. By the way, you should definitely not do spoon clank things on their Facebook page. I disavow anybody who does. And really, and I seriously just no prank calls and shit like that. Don't do that. It's funny to think about it, but don't do it. Basically, the school that I was at, the people who ran it were more like, I guess, law and order than so. Like, when I got to high school, it's like, it's more laissez-faire, it's more laid back, because it's a high school, and so I had no problems really there. I loved high school compared to all of my fucking elementary and middle school experiences. But anyway, under a sort of authoritarian structure in which I was a special ed kid as well, so I was treated differently. And despite the fact that I was far too advanced for most of the work that they were giving me, like with the math problems and stuff, I was finding easier solutions than the ones they were teaching me. And then they would like say, don't do that, do it the right way. And I'm like, look, I found a workaround that's 10 times quicker. You're trying to teach me basically dumbass math. I'm not operating on the same level. And so they would wonder why I had behavioral problems. Because they expected me to sit there for 15, 20 minutes sometimes. I'm already done with the work during the period. It's like, 30, 40 minutes. So I get done with the work in 5 or in 10. They expect me to sit there and do nothing for that entire period. And then get angry at me when I start humming to myself or moving around. Or it's like, dude, you want me to sit here and you won't even let me like read my own book or something. And so it was really dumb and inept. And also, like, they would do, like, stupid shit. Like, for instance, having social anxiety and stuff. You go to gym class or whatever. They're like, oh, today we're going to be dancing. And I refused. I'm like, well, it's demeaning to me. I don't dance. I think that that's dumb. It's a waste of my time, number one. Number two, I'm going to look like an idiot doing it. And they know about the fact that I'm going to defy them on this. And they know that I have a little bit of that social anxiety. It's already difficult enough for me to be, sort of in that situation. They didn't give a fuck, and so, I was constantly getting, sent to the office and stupid shit like that. But the big thing is, eventually, I just stopped giving a fuck. And I told, like, the school therapist at the time, of course, I'm like, I don't care anymore. And so I'm telling you that if I keep getting treated like this, I'm just going to act out. I'm just going to antagonize them, and I'm going to get myself expelled. And they didn't really, I guess they didn't take it seriously. So anyway, over the course of a couple of months, I was still going to school and stuff. I got several suspensions, detentions, sent to the office basically every day. It was basically a repeating thing, and I took joy in it. I took glee in the fact that I was bothering these people. I literally began to enjoy it. It was almost like it was real-life trolling on steroids. Like, one thing that I would do is instead of staying in my seat, I would just wander around the classroom. And then like, you have to sit down. I would just ignore them. Like I wouldn't even listen to them. And I'd just be like, I'd have a shit-eating grin. I'm laughing just thinking about how funny it was at the time. And by the way, I don't regret it at all, just so the people at this school understand. I know that probably nobody that was teaching there when I was there is still there, but I took glee in it. I found this very funny. Some of the fellow students were assholes, too, to tell the truth. But that's kids being kids, so I don't really blame them for that. It wasn't like at other places, sometimes there were blameless people that I would just antagonize because I found their reactions funny. Here was a little bit different. The teachers really did a shitty job, I've got to say. Again, I'm sure that it's totally different people now, but I would like start scooting my chair around, making weird noises and faces, and telling people like weird, like grotesque stories about like skin falling off people's bones and stuff. I was a little bit troubled, and the best thing was I invented something called mad cards. Now what these were was, to amuse myself, I would draw little characters of people that I found funny, and I would give them like names that all had to do with lunacy. Like there was one girl that I knew who used the term demented constantly, and I thought that was the funniest thing that I had ever heard. Like it was really great. Like it would always make me laugh. And so I had like Demented Dwayne or Crazy Chris or what was it, Ranting Ralph, and some of these other characters. I tried to do one for every letter of the alphabet, and then I started branching out. What I would do is I would take these pieces of paper and rip them off to be sort of like cards. I would draw it on the front with the name, and on back it would talk about the weird shit that they had done and why they were crazy and how. Like some of them were addicted to drugs, and others like drank themselves into a stupor. And like Crazy Chris, he was really religious, so he had a cross on, and he sort of looked like Jesus, and I guess he was like delusional, and he would hear voices in his head. I found this so fucking funny. Oh my god, I had such a great time. But yeah, eventually my behavior was too much for them, and they expelled me. Basically, like all of a sudden, basically I'm told, no, you're not going to school today, you've been expelled. I'm like, oh. And then I had to write like a letter of apology, which was like, I've sort of bullshitted my way through it. Oh yeah, I feel so sorry. I didn't cry or get upset at all. Like everyone else is all upset. I'm like, what? It's the 5th grade, dude. What the fuck? Who cares if I get expelled from this school? There are other schools. I'll go to one of them. Preferably a school that, treats me with some degree of dignity. They're the special ed treatment, not necessarily the greatest. You got to realize, totally different time period. The way in which people are given deference now when they have disabilities, which I don't really call them half the time, they're more of an ability than being normal, so-called, but basically, you know what they did to people like me back then? Sit down and shut up and take your Ritalin. That's basically all they did. Oh, and then talk to a therapist once a week about how you inevitably are responsible for all of your own problems, and nobody ever mistreated you in your life. That's basically what it was, and that's why I don't fucking regret one fucking bit of it. I like there are some people like at other schools, and I would antagonize them. I feel sorry about it. In fact, I've actually spoken to a few of them and like apologized. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry for bullying you and stuff. But at this school now. Don't regret it at all. There were a couple of people there that treated me decently. Like what was one of the counselors there was okay, although the other one sucked ass. And then there's like one teacher, I guess, that I got along with. Like you had personal aides basically for the special students, and it was like really funny. I thought it was a great time though. For months, basically, school consisted of me having nonstop fun. And it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to drag me out physically? Are you going to call the cops on me for trolling you with little pieces of paper? That would have been funny. That probably would have even tipped half the people there over the edge. That was great. So yeah, I got expelled from the 5th grade and then held back, specifically because of that. That was the only detriment, but then it's like, well, extra year in school, I guess, whatever. Be a lazy asshole. I should have jumped that grade in middle school. I wish I could have avoided 7th grade. That was definitely the shittiest year. I think that was the year of 9/11, though. So that was a difficult time because, you already have some anxiety, and then you're seeing things blow up on TV. It's like, yeah, I'm high energy enough as is. And, you're old enough at that point, so you're drinking a bit of caffeine probably, too. It's like, give me a cup of coffee. I'm going to need it. Then I stayed home for 2 days watching nonstop CNN coverage of, basically people going mad and thinking it's Armageddon. And that's basically why people were freaking out. It's pretty fun times. Not 9/11, but, staying home and watching CNN instead of doing homework, I guess, was an improvement. And I ate fish sticks the whole time. Dude, we had a big ass bag. I think I can remember there was like for some reason they had a sale like on fish sticks and french fries like a day before. And so the freezer's just packed with junk food. And so I had it like even for breakfast. It was like, I'm sitting there, with no shirt on and watching CNN and he's cramming fish sticks down my gullet. Good times. Yeah, getting a tear in my eye for the nostalgia of the simpler days. No, now I troll people here. Now I can bother people. I don't even have to try anymore. All I have to do is have a political opinion and some people become irate. Like if I say like, fuck MGTOW, I know 1,000 people get irate. I say get your kids vaccinated, people get upset. I say that I don't think gun control is appropriate. Or I say like, white privilege is a myth. I love it. And troll way more people than you have in an elementary school. Yeah, I take a little bit of pride in relating this to everyone. I like this story of how I got expelled. Yeah, it was pretty funny. That's about all. Peace out.